All right, and we are live. Welcome and good morning to TLD.
TLD. Way to go, Anthony.
We got hey, you know what? We got it out of the way early. There we go.
Awesome.
For those of you who are joining, no, I am not Brent Schlenker.
You don't look like Brent Schlenker.
I don't.
No, you don't.
I am Anthony Altieri. I am the idiot, the instructional developer for the Internet of Things. And yes, for those of you who are new here, I might look a little familiar to you from my years as modeling as the original Twitter egg. That was me.
Yep.
Today with me is Canada's own, from the Great White North, the workplace revolutionary, Mr. Ajay Pangarkar.
I forgot to get my toque. Damn.
Yes.
Okay. Man.
Yes.
Hi, good day. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm about to talk about anything and beer.
Hey, I'll break out the Coleman for the back bacon, eh?
Oh, that's cool, man. Let's get smoked, man. Okay, now nobody knows what the hell we're doing on this chat right now. They're looking at us like I told you yesterday, the inmates are in charge of the asylum. So welcome.
So, Mr. Ajay Pangarkar is, as I said, the workplace revolutionary. For those of us who are new here, who are you? Why do we want to know you? I
don't think people really want to know me. But anyways, there's a select few. I guess I like to call myself the business conscience of L&D. That's what I like to say. My background is as a CPA. My first love and like, if you want to call it that, is finance and accounting, and I've worked many years in those areas. And I, like many of us, Anthony, you've said it time and again, we fall backwards into training, and that's how it happened to me about 20 years ago. I fell backwards into training and carved out a niche where I would speak on to gaining business validity for L&D. So getting L&D to actually act like a business unit. And so my years of struggles and beating people and all this wonderful stuff, I think I'm making some headway, but an inch gained, 2 inches lost, one of those things. So we'll see. So hopefully I can answer some questions here. I'm pretty getting to a point in my life right now in my career where I'm being a little blunt about things, a little less tact in my approach. So I've been tweeting about that. If you can handle the truth, come and join us. If you can't, then don't worry about it. So, go ahead.
I think it's safe to say today more than ever, there will be neither tact nor will there be rails.
I know, no rails. We'll go off the rails. There will be rails, but we'll go off them. How's that?
Yes.
And I love the people on the chat because a lot of them here, speak the same language as we do, Anthony. I mean, a lot of them think the same way we do. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. But, maybe we need to get some of those people you and I know to be on this chat that don't want to accept the truth.
Yeah, definitely. And it is very difficult. You and I have spoken many times around there's a belief in training, and it's not without merit. It's not that it doesn't totally makes it's not that it makes no sense at all. There is a certain amount of sense to this, that you're going to hire employees.
Yep.
And they're going to perform a task.
Yep.
And they don't know what to do. They don't know how to do that task, so they must be trained.
Yep.
Therefore, you need me.
Yep. So
why isn't it that simple? Why is it not that simple? Why must I justify myself beyond that?
Okay, one word that you said in there that was the operative word is the word to get them to perform. Perform is short of performance. And one thing I like to say, Anthony, is that we love talking about learning, but we like putting the word performance in our lingo, but we always talk about learning. We never talk about performance. And so I think we got things, excuse my language, and maybe this is a family program, but we got things ass backwards here. Kirkpatrick and all that wonderful stuff is great, but I think even Don Kirkpatrick said once, we're using it backwards. We should be working with the business objectives first, and then cascading back. So when you bring people on, so when your leaders bring people on, they bring them for a reason, not just because they're friends and they want to have more people in the company. It's because there's a task to do, and there's a job to be done, to be completed, and there's an objective to be met. And at the end of the day, training plays not a separate role. It plays an integrative role into this process. And if we, finally, if we wrap our minds around that and act like we really want to become part of the business rather than, hey, let's just wait around for somebody to ask for training, then guess what? Maybe they take us more seriously and build some credibility. I mean, at the end of the day, they're not expecting anything else from us except, wait for it, to get people to do their jobs better. That's really it. And I don't know how simply to put it, but for some reason we like to make things more complicated than they should be.
But I want to dial that in a little bit, and you're jumping ahead of me a little. We're going to get
Sorry.
there. That's okay. That's all right. See, this is what happens when you put two great minds together. Okay, I have no idea what it's like when you put two great minds together.
Hey, I resemble that comment.
We're missing at least three of them now. But it's more than I want to make my. It's more than I want to make my employees more productive, right? Because, okay, and again, kind of, references to past conversations and your own sessions at Training Mag last year and OLC in Chicago, I sat in on. If my training product improves your team by 5%, but my training costs 6% of revenue, then I failed. So it is more than that, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, okay. Now, if you want to get into the weeds a bit, please pull me out when you need to, Anthony, because I can get a little crazy on this one. I'm great at cocktail parties. If you hear me after this, everybody on the chat, then hire me for cocktail parties and bar mitzvahs. It's great. Anyways, so let's get into the financial aspect of this. So for some reason, getting to your point, Anthony, we're hung up on making sure that what money we put into training, we're actually going to get out, meaning break even, or possibly make more than we put into it. Right. That's a fallacy. So when your leaders put money into training, a group of people, whatever it is, yes, you're right. You want to get the people better, and maybe the costs are somewhat higher, but it is a cost to them. And please don't be offended by that, everybody on the chat. A cost is actually just an accounting term of how your leaders classify things. A cost is absorbed into the company. And that cost, how should I put it, is, I guess, amortized over time, meaning that once we put the cost in, it becomes an expense. We get people trained, and it costs a bit of money. But your business leaders do not expect you to, I guess, pay it back. Is that one way of putting it? I mean, so even if your expense on the training, say from 1 year to the next, was from 5% of revenue to 6% of revenue, it's gone up 1%. They don't really care as long as the benefit the employees are driving out are exceeding, meaning their performance is exceeding or meeting the key objectives that they need to, and we can make that alignment. So it's not about the money; it's about the qualitative factors of making those employees better. I don't know if I'm making myself clear. I'm trying to stay, by the way, I'm trying to stay non-technical because I can get really accountees here. So unless people want me to that way.
So I guess, hold on, I gotta.
Oh. So should I song and dance? Is that what should I do? Okay.
No. So I guess, so one of my work cries is when we produce something, we cannot cost more than the problem we're trying to solve. Am I right? Am I wrong? And understanding that, I mean, I know that's very complicated because in most of the time we're not solving one problem. We're solving multiple problems throughout the year. Our team may be working on multiple things concurrently. So am I thinking about that wrong, or is it
sort of? I mean, I think I think training gets into this mindset that 2 + 2 = 4. So here's the problem. We put training before it, and the problem is solved. And typically, your leaders don't look at it that way. They look at training more of, the square root of 9, or not. Maybe that's the wrong choice of word. The exponential, logarithmic, I don't know, whatever. Whatever. It's not a clear answer. Meaning that when they train people, it's a non-tangible business activity that's supposed to contribute not just in the short term, but in the long term of the employees. So those skill sets are typically transferable to other areas of the business or in other jobs. So yes, we might be trying to solve a specific issue in one area, but hopefully we're building enough capacity and skill set by investing in that cost, even if it does cost a little more, that skill will be used for months or years to come within that employee or employees. And so the 2 + 2 = 4 is a bit of a red herring. And so when trainers get caught in that loop, they're missing the argument. And of course, when they fail to meet the 2 + 2 = 4, and they get another answer, then they feel they're being called out on the carpet, and basically they painted themselves in a corner. You know what I'm saying? Like they said, we're going to give you 4, but they're not giving them 4. And then the business leader says, well, you told us you give us 4, when they shouldn't have told them it was 4.
Or
math here, but I think so.
Or would it be more accurate to say, okay, well, I'm giving you the 2 + 2 = 4 now, but I'm also giving you another 2 next year, and another 2 next year, and another 2 next year.
Yes.
All 3.
Yes, you should say, well, that 4 that we're going to get out is not just for this issue. It's the 4 is actually going to be applicable to a lot of variety of other issues within the organization, and make those correlations. I mean, the problem is with training is that it is a non-tangible activity, and that trying to make tangible correlations. First of all, we're caught in a rock and a hard place. Let's put it this way. We're trying to make some tangible correlations to say, yes, here's what our training did for the people or for the company. But at the same time, we should not be saying that, because it does impact a lot of different areas in the business. And it's something that we can't see. It's like oxygen, or gravity, right? And people say gravity doesn't exist because we can't see it. And we're really, okay, then how are your feet sticking to the ground? I mean, at the end of the day, training is there because if you didn't have it, what would the people be doing? Would they be doing any better? Probably not. But we do training, and these skills now that they have are intrinsic and can apply to your organization in a lot of different ways. Now, your leaders are smart people. They know this. But they're expecting.
Let's not make assumptions.
Okay, well, maybe not your leaders, but anyways, most leaders I deal with are pretty smart people and astute. But they're also looking at you as the expert, saying, "What can you do for me, or what can you do for the business?" And so you better be clear on your explanations. That here's what we're going to do for this activity, and this is the money you're going to put into it to make that happen. But this intangible quality that we're building into these people are going to be. Is going to be extended into the rest of the organization. And maybe we can find some correlations into other areas. And keep in mind, training is also not the only solution to the problem. I mean, we're not the people who is going to solve the world problems here. We go in as a cross-functional team, and training is one component of it. And we got to stop sticking our feet in the mud and saying we can do this and solve the world's problems. We can't. There's other widgets and gears moving that affect solving the problem in business.
So how much of that? Now, there is a whole other aspect of this I absolutely want to get to, but I want to kind of start small and grow. I want to let the anticipation build like a fine wine.
Okay, let's do that.
I don't know anything about wine. I have no idea if that was a good metaphor or not.
I know you whine a lot, but that's okay.
I do.
If people don't know, Anthony and I are good friends, by the way. So I made him an honorary Canadian for those of you in the chat who don't know this. But anyways.
It's in the other room. But so how much? So there's two things, kind of coming back to the whole training concept of push and pull skills.
Yep.
You brought up a very good point of the business comes to us and says, hey, we have this problem. I need you to solve it. How much of our, I don't want to say response, but how much of that interaction, how much of that is, we just have to suck it up and be honest? How much of that is salesmanship? How much of it is, salesmanship versus overpromising? How much of that? And then I do want to get to how do we go to the business, but I want to get to this later. How do we get to the business and say, all right, what problems do you have? How can we help you? So let's take the first one where the business comes to us and said, hey, we need to train on, what was it the other day? Pepsi. We need 5 more liters a day. We need to enhance training to get 5 more liters a day.
Okay, so I would never say to a training department or training director, just go overpromise on their deliverables. So the first step is to understand. So going back to Kirkpatrick's 4 levels, right? You understand what the business objective is and what the expected results should be in the business, not in the learning. And so the first thing you should do is actually step back and speak, or take that out of your learning, tool box. You should take out that needs assessment or skills assessment and go to the training department and say, tell me what is your issues. Be their therapist and say, look, what pressures are you under? What objectives you need? You need to increase productivity. You need to increase production in Pepsi bottles. Hey, great. You need to go up by 5%. Fantastic. But that's a pretty big problem to solve when you just say I have to increase production by 5%. Okay, what in production is not working, right? So we're being a little investigative here. We're being a little, therapeutic. Okay, tell me, why do you not believe, or in that 5%, what do you believe will cause an obstacle for you to achieving that 5% as far as knowledge capacity, as far as people being able to achieve those objectives? Oh, Mr. or Mrs. Manager, you don't know? Well, okay, how about you give me a month and I'll just speak to that team on the production line and start doing a needs assessment to find out how well, benchmark it, how well they're doing now, and then see their weaknesses, right? Do that thing we do to find out what's wrong, right? And then, of course, what I do in business, they call it Kaizen, but the root cause analysis, ask why, right? So you're finding these problems in the production line, and then you say, okay, well, Mary or Bob doesn't know how to, operate this lever properly on the machine to drop the bottles. I don't know. And so, fine, okay, that's great. So either that's a quick, YouTube tutorial or whatever, I don't know, what do you want to create, or a coaching session, whatever it is, and then you solve the problem. What I'm saying here is that, before I get too much into the weeds, is it's about being a partner with the business. So meaning being a proactive operational partner with the business unit that needs that help. And so when you go in and start investigating the issues, you can now, rather than do a shotgun approach on your training and say, we're just, you need to increase 5%. Okay, let's teach them about production. Let's teach them about bottling. Let's teach them about everything. Rather than do that, let's become, excuse my analogies here. I hate to use these kind of analogies, but they're quite apropos. Rather than be a shotgun, be a sniper. Go very specifically at those items. And guess what? You want to change business? You want to have some impact? Become a sniper. You will target exactly what you need to solve in those areas. And guess what? When they start saying, we put money into training and they solve that problem, there's your direct correlation in solving it. I mean, and they're not going to question the cost because you were helped them to contribute to increasing the 5% in production. I don't know. But that's really a simple answer. I know it's more complex than that. I'm making it relatively simplistic, not to insult anybody, Anthony, but, just to get a message across. There are more complexities in training, and I understand that. And I don't want people to start, running over me on the chat here for a second.
So two things I want to bring up. First of all, where is Paul that he was really quick with that I make kids cry meme, but somehow missed Ajay?
Where? Be a
sniper.
Where's that? I missed the meme. I need the meme.
How did that happen? But the other is... But the other, so you bring up a good point, and Eric had a good comment before. And one of the things, and I have said this to where I work during the day, to my CEO, I've said this to other CEOs. Part of my job is to say no.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Part of your job is to accept that you're coming to me because I'm the training expert or the subject matter expert. Whatever. I am the knower of things. And part of my job is to protect you from yourself to a certain degree. So that sometimes means saying no. At what point, I know we're talking about the fictitious world of PepsiCo bottling, but what are some examples of where, training can kind of help, but, the fact of the matter is, training's not your problem. These guys know what they're doing. There's something else, either a cultural problem, mechanical problem, whatever.
Well, yeah, and that's the issue. I think you've heard me say this, Anthony, before. I think we're like the middle child in the family, desperate to seek our parents' attention. That's what training is. That's what we feel like we're the forgotten child. So whenever the parent starts paying a little bit of attention, we want to please them to no end. And so we forget, to your point, to say no sometimes. And it's not always our problem. Let's point out. And by the way, another benefit of being a middle child and being ignored is sometimes you're ignored and you don't want the attention from your parents, in this case, your business leaders. Especially Exactly, especially if, excuse me to say this again, but especially shit sitting the fan. At the end of the day, when you're a middle child and you're desperate for attention and you want to please your parent, sometimes saying yes to them is not necessarily pleasing them, because at the end of the day, you may please them for that short period of time, but then you will disappoint them in the end. And so to your point, Anthony, there are times when we're doing, and I think Eric said it before, a good needs assessment is crucial here. We tend to forget the importance of that level of capacity that we have, that expertise, to identify that maybe we're not the solution. And there's no shame in saying, I'm sorry, but we did a good job training and they are well skilled and that's fine, but there are other issues here, Mr. Leader, Mrs. Leader, you need to investigate, because any more training and throwing money at this is not going to solve your problem. Maybe there are ways we can now communicate training better in the future, but for the time being, we did an appropriate job and it's reflected in their skill set, and we just need to step away. If that means your budget gets a little cut, or maybe you get scaled back a little bit, or you get ignored for the time being, hey, so be it. You just got a little bit of a win if you were honest with them in the first place, and when it comes back again, you haven't undermined your credibility further. So, I'm going a little on tangent here, but it's related to the topic. I wrote an article called, why you deserve to have your training budget cut. People always whine at me, well, Ajay, our training budget got cut. I said, I want to understand. Be asking yourself, if they're cutting your budget, you need to ask yourself why they cut your budget. It's because you're not adding any value. And to your point, Anthony, sometimes saying no is adding value because you want to protect what training does best and not the middle child parent.
I was just looking for a link to that article.
It's in trainingindustry.com. I'll get the link for you guys.
Okay.
It's here somewhere.
We like to share links.
I know. Good. Here's, by the way, I don't know if people are on members of ATD, but I have a link called Grapes of Wrath. It was an experience I had why training could have made a difference in my wine tasting experience in Santa Barbara a few months ago. So if you're a member of ATD Links, here's a link to an article I just wrote. I can't press enter. Here we go. It's called The Grapes of Wrath, and it actually speaks to our point right now, Anthony, about how, training, I won't get into this scenario, but it was basically the server, she was new, and of course it undermined the whole business impact of the winery. It's a small winery, and of course we're never going to go back, and the word of mouth that's going to go through because of that person being poorly trained and how they educated us on the wines. It's very pretentious, mind you, but but think about it. I mean, when you go to a winery, think about it. Forget about Pepsi. Here's a small business, right? Growing, making specialty wine in Santa Barbara, a very competitive environment. They're a family-run business. They hire a server, a young lady, very smart, seems to be very eager, but they didn't educate her or skill her up properly or have somebody for her to shadow to understand what the wines were about. Now, people are saying, well, Ajay, you're being very pretentious. Yes, I am, because if I'm going into a wine tasting area, guess what I'm ready to drop? A lot of bucks, because did you see the prices of wines in those places? By the way, I didn't, because I'm a cheap, SOB. But just for
You're Canadian.
I'm Canadian. Yeah, I'm half Canadian. And I have another part of my nationality and my heritage, but I won't go there. Anyway, you can guess by my name. Anyways, but what I'm saying is that the bottles are $80, $90, $100, and I've seen people in these wineries that when they're educated properly by the server, that they're buying 1, 2, 3 bottles. There's maybe between the 4 of us at that tasting that could have dropped about $1,000 leaving that place, which we didn't. We went to another winery. The lady around behind the counter there was really well versed. I mean, she knew her stuff. And although I didn't buy any bottles, we bought more wine to taste. And the people that were with me bought 2 bottles of wine, dropped $150. So guess who won on the business impact because of the training? Anyways, that's the synopsis of that article. I'll get the other one about the training budget.
but also, and again, this gets to another aspect of training is if you're going to a winery, that's different than going to a fancy restaurant and ordering the wine. You're not there to drink. You're there for the experience. You're there to learn about the wines. You're there because you're interested in that process. My experience, I'm not a big wine drinker at all. But the folks that I do know that frequent wineries versus those that will go out to whatever fancy restaurant and order wine there. They're ordering wine at the restaurant because I want some wine. The other folks are going to a winery because it's an experience. They don't just want it's not just a glass of wine, it's an experience. And this gets back to good training at its core. If we're not providing a good experience, you devalue that training, you devalue the product, you're not getting as much out of the product as you can. So, I think it's a perfect metaphor. I think it's a perfect analog for training in general at a couple of different levels.
Well, no, but Anthony, sorry to interrupt, but what I'm saying is that every business has a specific business objective. And by the way, that's called the mission statement. And that mission has to be relatively clear of what the goal of the organization is about, meaning why they exist. Now, it could be the winery, it could be the restaurant, it could be Pepsi, it could be McDonald's, it could be Walmart. It doesn't matter who it is. They all have different objectives, but the training aligns exactly with that. So in your example of the winery is that it's about the experience, right? People go there because it's about the experience. So the word experience implies knowledge. Right? Am I mind left field? I don't know if anybody disagrees with me here, but if you say to me that this business is about an experience, it's about knowledge. And so your people better have the knowledge to support why those customers are walking in the door. And every part of your supply chain, meaning every part of that winery, should go into supporting that knowledge. Even the farmer who's picking the grapes and then processing it has to have the knowledge appropriately to align with the quality wine that needs to be produced for that customer to buy it and to line up with that experience. So it doesn't matter what business you are. You could be Walmart, and Walmart it's not about the experience. I think we can all agree Walmart is not about the experience. I mean, you ever been to Walmart? But I love Walmart. I go to Walmart all the time. Sorry, don't sue me, Walmart. Anyways.
In fairness, I have to disagree. Walmart is definitely an experience in my neighborhood.
Yeah, but it's not intentional. Okay, they don't go out there to give you the white trailer trash experience on purpose. But anyway, but what I'm saying is that Walmart is about supply chain, right? They're the best in the world doing it, and all their processes align to that. So the reason we all go to Walmart, whether we love it or hate it, we fall and stumble into Walmart by accident or on purpose. The reason we go there is because of their mission of driving, quote unquote, prices down for us and getting all the quality products that we want. And they do that very well, but all their people know that. It's nothing else but all their training. And if by the way, I don't know, I'm sure Walmart has this, but they have a room in Bentonville, Arkansas, I call it a building of accounting professionals who study what we call variance analysis. That is the variances between the costing and the prices and all the products around the world. Guess where a lot of the training budget goes into? Getting those people skilled up to do that analytical work, right? So that's part of the mission. So I'm sorry I'm going on a rant here, but I get very passionate about this because I love training and development. It's tough love now with me and training and development because I want them to succeed. I'm not trying to be mean. It's not freaking rocket science. The answers are in front of you. Understand business and get a concept of business in front of you and understand where your business leaders speak and shut the hell up about training, because I hate to say it, but it really is about that. Learning, nobody cares about learning except us. And if you think I'm being offensive here, I'm a CPA. I can go into a finance department, and the finance department doesn't go around to the CEOs and COOs talking about how they constructed financial statements. They talk about, here's the financial statements and here's the results. They don't go around bragging about how they built an income statement or a balance sheet. So why are we going around bragging about how we built this e-learning course, or what Kirkpatrick said that all the levels are being met? A CEO doesn't give a crap about that. So let's keep that to ourselves. We do that very well, but let's keep it to ourselves and talk to them in the way they understand and meet their objectives. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. Hi, Katie.
I just love that right as you said that, Josh's comment, but the smile sheets came up like as if the two of you planned that. That was amazing.
Me and Josh and Craig are doing a tribute Van Halen heavy metal band at TLDC. So
or Joseph, I'm sorry.
So Joseph, okay, so and so Luis is on the back end right now, just falling off his chair, saying, "Oh crap, we better shut this thing down and get Ajay off the air." Right, Luis? Where are you? Are we done yet?
Luis is composing his resignation letter to Brent.
Hey, Brent, how's it going?
But it's okay. We all know Luis's printer still has an error, so we can't print it. So we're okay.
But the smile sheets, I love it, Joseph.
So we are.
Hey, how did you like the muffins? They were awesome, fantastic.
So we are at the halfway point, and following in the proud tradition of Mr. Brent Schlenker, I'm late. So we are going to take a quick minute just to remind you, TLD Chat is proudly brought to you by the TLD Conference, which this year is being hosted. And Luis, I might need your assistance with this a little bit. It is January 29th and 30th of 2018 in Phoenix, Arizona. Do you have the, I don't see the location here. Luis, pop on audio or video. Do you have the location? Galvanize Phoenix.
Galveston? No, Galvanize?
Okay. So we will train you how to join, how to reinforce rubber?
Puts a new meaning to the rust belt, but anyways.
I will never be invited back, folks. TLDC, the TLDC conference. It is a great It is a smaller, more familial conference. If you're like me, I don't attend the ATD conference, the really big one. Whenever I look at it every hour. There's like, I think this year there were 29 sessions each hour. That's insane. That's just too much. There's too many people. There's too much going on. There's no way I'm really going to have a meaningful conversation with a meaningful number of people. But you go to Phoenix, Arizona at the end of January 2018, you only got 99 other folks. You will have all kinds of amazing conversations with some amazing folks, and you're going to get a lot more out of it. So if you're definitely into the smaller conferences, this is certainly one to check out. We have numerous folks who were there last year. Katie's one of them. Ajay, were you there last year?
Yep.
Okay. I did not make it because I did conflict.
Okay, the streaming. Is it? Hello?
Yes, I hear
your
you.
streaming just screwed up on me, so.
Yeah, yours did too. I don't know if
is.
it's on my end.
Is it me or is it?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Both of our screens are flashing a little bit, so I don't know what's going on.
I got you now.
Yeah, that was weird.
What were you asking me before you started becoming staccato?
No, were you at TLDC last year?
Yeah.
What
yeah. Let me tell you this. I mean, Luis and Brent do a great job of putting on a great event. I'll tell you this. I mean, apart from speaking, I got to have really interesting chats with people one-on-one. I mean, not just speakers, but I mean, my peers, like a bunch of people were there, especially some people in the chat, and we just had some great chats. We'd be outside just having over a coffee or a meal. Brent and I took off to fish and chip place, and we for a half hour, 45 minutes, we just talked about a lot of things about training and development, but also other stuff. I mean, just to get to know people. So there was both the social element plus the professional element. And I think Luis and Brent do a great job. So that intimacy is really neat. So if you guys get a chance, it's really not expensive. It's actually a drop in the bucket compared to some other conferences. And it's a great way to not just network, but to learn stuff and to get to meet people on a one-on-one basis. So take advantage of it. It
is definitely one of the most inexpensive conferences to attend as far as the admission tickets anyway. So definitely, if you're looking for the more familial, smaller conferences, we can definitely some awesome network opportunities. This is the one to check out. And remember, TLDC 17 is proudly brought to you by Windows 9. So
tell us what you think about Apple, Anthony. Anyway. Hey guys, you think I went on a rant? Here, his trigger word, Apple.
No thanks.
Okay.
So teams, back to teams.
Back to teams. Back to Ajay's rant and editorial.
We are teaming with teams. So all right. So we talked about the scenario where the business, the managers, the production people, whatever, come to you and say, hey, we got this problem. We need some training. We need to train our people. We need to increase whatever. How do you, as a team manager, how do you as a team member, how do you reach out? Should you reach out to other parts of the company, other production teams, marketing teams, HR team, whatever? And I use the term interrogate because I think we're having an internal discussion. So it's an interrogation of what do you guys do? Where are your gaps? Whatever. How do you reach out to them? Should you reach out to them to find ways that your training department can help them?
Okay, so I'm just putting a couple of links here from articles that I wrote that speaks a little bit about that. I'll explain it in a nutshell. One of them actually is just a recent article I wrote. If you guys don't know, I write for a lot of publications. One of them is Training Magazine, and I wrote a short article on the last word called Your Time to Shine, and it speaks to performance management. And that's where I want to go to, Anthony, is the performance management side. Because so let me put it this way. So how do I know I need to work with other departments and other teams and other areas within, having training link up with these people? Well, let me just back up maybe half a step here. So, we started off the conversation talking about the word performance. Performance is the operative word for all organizations. And by the way, performance is not owned by learning. Performance is a business concept, and that's what I wrote in this article in Training Magazine, is that performance is a business methodology, not a training methodology. And just like you did when you were in school, how would you like this, Anthony? I mean, I don't know how you were in school, but yeah, I know. I was being polite. Anyway, but what if the teachers didn't tell you the questions, but they gave you the answers to the test? And it said, okay, now we're going to go let you write the test. You think you'd be successful?
Well, isn't there a game show that's been on for like 50 years where that's the exact concept?
True. True. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, but okay. So
actually, yeah, I think I would.
Stop it. Okay.
Yeah, I do think I would be okay.
Okay, so funnily enough, we do have the answers in front of us. So your business leaders have constructed what we call a performance management framework. Some call it, there's different titles to this, like tools, but and self-promotional plug here. In the book I wrote, The Trainer's Balanced Scorecard, there's something called the Balanced Scorecard. But that's a granddaddy of performance frameworks. But in the performance framework, they all have the key metrics, the key performance indicators that these managers and these other departments need to achieve. So guess what? Rather than you chasing your tail on reinventing the wheel of a training program that's going to solve something else that's not relevant to a department, why don't we look at this cheat sheet with all the answers on it and say, oh, here's the financial perspective, or here's the customer's perspective, and here's the internal process perspective, and who are the departments that fall under these areas in the performance framework? And let's go visit them, because apparently these are the 5 or 6 key performance indicators they have to meet within the next year, next 2 years, next 5 years. Let's go see how we can make this happen. And so when you're building a collaborative environment, and that's what training needs to become, not an isolated environment, you need to walk out of your door and go find this cheat sheet, go find the KPIs, and then go talk to those departments and say, look, how can we work together to make the rest of the things happen? Now, to your point, Anthony, we talked about the direct operations, but what if we have to collaborate with another department like marketing? Well, maybe there's a sales issue, and we look at the sales objectives are not being met, right? And maybe sales falls into marketing, let's say. So we look at sales and we go, okay, marketing, you're responsible for sales. You're doing some things to help them out, operationally, to get them to make more sales. What can we do to collaborate on that? Where are the weaknesses and where are the key points? What are you doing or not doing that you need to be doing, and what do we need to do to make things happen so we can get sales to move upward? That's a collaborative, cross-functional team approach. And not just, hey, I'm going to build a training program because salespeople are not making the sales. I'll just build a better sales training program. And marketing is going to go, I'm going to build these new marketing tools. No, work together. We'll find a way to work together, because working together will, first of all, all organizations have scarce resources. I don't care if it's Apple, the biggest, most valuable company in the world. Their resources are scarce. They have limited resources. So when you can find some reconciliation and resources to working together, your leaders are going to be ecstatic. Okay, they're going to say, "Wow, they did something extraordinary here." 2, money is tight in all budgets, for all budgets, not just for training, for all budgets. And so when you're able to, find economies of scale in the financial terms for building these solutions, they're even going to be even more excited. But I can go on here. But as you can see, Anthony, there's a lot of elements we can do to work together in building a strong cross-functional relationship with other departments. Actually, I'm working on a bit of an article, and I had an idea for a book called "How to Build an Effective Strategic Learning." I call it a plan, but it's not a plan. How to build strategic learning initiatives, to speak to all the business elements of putting into your strategic plan for your learning initiatives. So, yeah, I didn't get as excited on this one, didn't I?
Yeah, it's they can't all express that same. That's
yeah, but I'm looking for my first bar mitzvah, so.
Moving right along.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Night,
I think I keep. Good night, everybody. Did I answer your question or not? Did I just go in circles?
I think you did.
Let's ask the people in the chat here. Did I answer his question or not? I mean, he might be being just nice to me because we're friends, but
like that stopped me.
There was a question. Yes, Mike, there was. No, at the end of the day, you don't want Anthony. You don't want to be. Here's the way I put it. First, you're a business. Learning is a business unit. It's a business function, and for some reason we forget that. We're not any better or any worse than anybody else in the organization, and so you have to accept the fact. And I know people. You and I know people in this business, and then people in the chat know some of the same people we know who will argue me no end that they're more special than any other business unit, and they're not. We're not. We're equal. Okay. Second, accept the fact that you're a cost center. I know cost is a 4-letter word, and in 4-letter words we associate with bad things, but in accounting and finance, we categorize things certain ways. And there's cost centers, there's profit centers, and there's investment centers. And Anthony, I'm going to go off the rails here, by the way. When we start talking about ROI, that implies we're a profit center. We're not a profit center, so stop using ROI. Okay.
Does it? How do I want to say this? Does it imply does it imply we're a profit center, or does it simply imply we're expected to cover our costs? So
this is where it gets confusing, and the way we're using ROI is how are we delivering some results? Okay, but when we start using the term ROI in front of business leaders, I keep reminding, because people say, "Oh, Ajay, you're getting into semantics, and you're getting too anal about things about what the word means." It means something, because when I speak to a CEO or a CEO, or even worse, a CFO, who is formally trained in business and has some accounting background. By the way, if you haven't gone through accounting, you're brainwashed to understand what ROI is about. It's very specific. So when I start using words like ROI to them, I may think, look, you're going to invest in training, and I'm going to put something out that's going to make it better, which means it's improved it, and so it's worth your while. But they're thinking ROI in a profit-driven sense. And so if we're going to talk about anything in training, and because we're a cost center typically, then we need to talk about it in the cost-benefit analysis. And you saw this in one of the sessions you sat in with me. I think it was at training, or I don't know which one it was, Anthony. But I talk about cost, volume, profit, which in layperson's term is called break-even analysis. And to your point is that if we're going to put money into training, or somebody's going to say build an e-learning course and it's going to cost you $100,000 or $60,000. Okay, all I need you to do is maybe cover that cost. But even better, if I put money into that, will it allow me to break even and better my performance in that initiative? So in the example I use, by the way, if you remember, Anthony, I use I can't remember now. I don't remember.
For some reason, I'm thinking light bulbs, but I don't know why.
It doesn't matter. So it could be any product. somebody says put $60,000 into an e-learning course, then they're going to put this e-learning course into their break-even analysis or cost volume profit, and they're going to see that it becomes a fixed cost to them in their analysis. So will I deliver to that e-learning course enough for them to make more widgets or sell more light bulbs, whatever it is, to cover that cost? And if so, then great. If it was an accounting software, and if so, if great. If not, then it's better for me not to do anything than to invest money in an e-learning course, because you're not going to contribute any more to my business objectives anyways. So learning these tools like break-even analysis or cost-benefit analysis in accounting is much more effective than using terms like ROI, because the terms I'm using actually mean the ROI that we talk about in training, meaning how we're going to benefit the business, not the ROI that business leaders understand as a financial profitability analysis. And so, and by the way, we of course, there are people out there who invent ROI formulas in training and think that business leaders would take that as credible. And then, of course, they say, oh, wait a minute, we're getting a 5,000 return ROI, 5,000% ROI. You don't believe that? Hey, I got a deal for you. Cut it in half, and you got a deal.
Yeah.
First number was incredible. You think the second one is even better? No, seriously, just stop it.
And which is also always followed by but wait, there's more.
Yes, did you read my article on that one? I have that one, the infomercial. It slices, it dices, it's everything. The Ronco Vegematic.
But wait, there's more.
But wait, there's more. I'll throw in the knife that cuts the can too.
Yes.
Separate shipping and handling, please. Thank you.
Ajay's Miracle Blade.
And let me, Anthony, full disclosure, I've said this a lot of times before, and people probably think I'm going to be a broken record here, but everything I say here is not Ajay's way. No. I have no vested interest in anything what I have to say. This is all stuff you can look up in every single finance and accounting textbook around the world. You'll see. I have no vested interest. I don't have an ROI methodology. I don't have a return on expectations methodology. I don't have a Kirkpatrick methodology that's modified. I don't have a new world, whatever. This is stuff that's out there. This is not Ajay stuff. I didn't invent stuff. This is accepted principles.
What is, do you think, I kind of gave my rationale at the beginning. I don't think that's completely it, but the rationale of, hey, you're bringing in new employees, they need to be trained, you need me. That's it. I've justified myself. What is it that you think prevents the learning folks? Is it the snowflake complex? I mean, is learning just a blizzard of snowflakes, or is there a reason that folks are resistant to is it they don't accept it? Is it they have a different background that there's accounting just runs contra? What do you think is the disconnect here?
Again, I think it goes back to I use two analogies. One is the one I used before, is we're the middle child and trying to please our parents. The other one is sorry, what was the question again, Anthony? I just went blank. Luis is really falling us off chairs, saying, "Don't ever invite him back again."
We are both so fired.
Guys, get a good look. This is all you're going to see for a long time.
What is
the snowflake thing, right?
What's the resistance from L&D? Because you and I have been having this conversation for a while, and we've both been shouting it as loud as we can at conferences. What is the resistance from L&D to take that extra few minutes and investigate the business and learn these business and by the way, look, I've got, and yes, I literally do have an egg as a head. Yes, I do have, actually in the room I am sitting right now, I have 3 slide rules, one of which is paper and is sitting next to a Klein bottle. So yeah, I'm a fully vetted nerd. Okay. I am. But I mean, you haven't and I don't say this to criticize or pick on you. You haven't said anything revolutionary. You haven't said anything controversial. You haven't said anything that I found to be particularly confusing. This all seems like very basic business concepts, basic precepts of starting and running a business.
Yeah.
So why, I mean, we're not talking next level stuff. We're talking business 101. Why is this so difficult? Why does L&D resist?
I do have some very strong opinions on it, but
keep it family friendly. Keep it.
I know I have to keep it family friendly.
You're Canadian, damn it.
I'm Canadian. We're way too polite. Okay. By the way, it's our 150th birthday, July 1st. So happy birthday to us. Why? Okay. So first of all, training. Let me put it this way: there's an old saying called "the shoemaker's children never have any shoes," and what that means is that the shoemaker will shoe everybody else, but when they get home, they don't want to shoe their own kids. Now, we're almost the same way. We believe in saying that you have to learn. Learning is good. Learn everything you can. Be professional, be whatever, and expand your horizons. But when it comes to us, we get so siloed and closed-minded. And I'm saying that, this is my polite side, by the way. I've met way too many people in this business, people that are prominent, that have such closed-minded perceptions and feel like they're the ivory tower. They speak about the ivory tower in business, but there's so much ivory tower BS in our business that it seems like we're the snowflake. We're just so fragile that we do not want to learn anything new. Now, I don't know what that's part of. Maybe the people in the chat have a better answer than I do. But at the end of the day, we are supposed to be the learning experts. We're the shoemakers. And we're supposed to be learning ourselves more than what we're trying to instill in other people. So I never ask people to be business experts. The same way your business leaders hire you to be the learning expert, they're not hiring you to be the business experts. All they're asking you is to expand your horizons and understand, like you said, Anthony, business 101, maybe just a little bit. Just take an introductory business course. That's all I'm asking. And then just understand the business itself. And then you get out of that silo. But why this resistance? I do not know. And it's really frustrating because you and I have had these chats in the corner of a conference somewhere and venting between ourselves because we have nobody else to vent to. And it's to me, it becomes very frustrating. I get tired of it. And I'm not trying to make anybody look bad. I'm just trying to state the facts. That's all I am. Yes, granted, I try to be as objective as I can. Mind you, there's always some bias in what I have to say, and that's full disclosure. But I'm a human being just like you and everybody else on this chat. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to keep people in a bubble. The other issue is about learning is that we have a lot of people that come up with methodologies that have a vested interest in these methodologies, meaning that it is their bread and butter. So don't call their babies ugly.
Yes.
Because once you start calling their babies ugly, oh man, you'll get the wrath come down on you. And it's like, how dare you? I've called people who use ROI methodologies. I haven't called them their babies ugly, but I've come close to it. And boy, have I felt the wrath. And okay, great. You want to go down that road? That's fine. What do I know? I'm just a damn accountant. I don't know any of this crap. So I mean,
you're only the person certified to actually know.
Yeah, I'm a public trust. I follow laws, by the way, on this stuff. But hey, what do I know? But to your point, Anthony, I think a lot of people on this. I think there's a lot of minds on this. I haven't read all the thread postings, by the way, Anthony. Maybe you have, but we have similar minds, all of us around here, and we want to do better. We want to learn. And if people are on the chat, and I'm here. I'm not just here to preach my stuff. I'm here also to be a learner. I want to learn from people. I want to expand my horizon. When I go to a conference, and I know a lot of you do the same thing, Anthony, you try to push the envelope. Isn't that what learning is about? Learning is about going into the unknown and finding something different, not staying with the familiar. And if we're true learning professionals, which is our expertise, then we need to start exploring the unknown and stop listening to all the bullshit out there. Sorry, family-friendly show. Sorry.
I think so one thing in the comments, I saw the word ego, I think 3 times.
Ego. Yes, ego. Let go of my ego.
And yeah. I think some of it is momentum. I think some of it is some of it is absolutely. There are those who definitely have an agenda to market because it favors their product. So there's a big push to that. And in a couple of cases, these folks are considered rock stars. And there's that. I will.
Sorry, can I interrupt? Can I interrupt? I apologize, Anthony. Can I interrupt you for a second?
Go ahead.
Because Joe put up a post here. Joe Cook says L&D generally aren't business people, and they aren't into people learning maybe tech if they're IT. Well, I guess what she's trying to say here, they generally aren't business people, and exactly the point. They're not supposed to be business people. That's what they're hired for. But at the same time, if you're a learning professional, you should be learning of what that business is about.
Well, and here's my answer to that. I'm not a chef, but I can cook myself dinner.
There you go.
So
I know what a celery looks like. Yeah.
As far as L&D, here's my thing, and people have heard me bitch about this. I go to DevLearn, which is an e-learning conference. I love DevLearn. I'm going this year. It's a fantastic conference, as is TLDC in Phoenix, Arizona. But one of the things that always just boggles the mind, this is an e-learning conference in 2017, and I guarantee what's going to happen is you're going to have people say, hey, can I get a copy of your slide deck? Here's my business card. Dude, it's 2017. It's an e-learning conference. For God's sake, can we stop using the damn paper business cards?
Hey.
Anyway.
Okay, you had your rant. There you go. Again, everybody on the chat, look at these beautiful faces. Him too. You're not going to see us for a long time because Luis has us on the blacklist right now. So he's sending emails like crazy to Brent right now going, you got to watch this!
We have been permanently banned from the internet.
Guys, we need your help. You need to sign a petition to bring us back.
So we are at the top of the hour. Ajay, thank you so much for your time. As always, an honest conversation full of passion, full of true, wrought Canadian passion. The good stuff from the Great White North. Where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter under @BizLearningDude. That's B-I-Z Learning Dude. You can find me on my website, centralknowledge.com. And of course, I think I did post a link, but I'll do it again to my book, The Trainer's Balance Scorecard. I don't have it here to hand it. I don't know where it is, by the way. Somewhere. Anyways. And of course, I write for 5 publications, so you'll find me somewhere. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, I'm not at any conference this year. I will hopefully be at the TLDC. But I have sort of went cold turkey on conferences this year just a little bit because I thought I was overdoing it. And yeah, but hopefully you'll see me around next year. And yeah, so watch for my articles on Training Magazine, on elearningindustry.com and trainingindustry.com and all the and ATD, of course.
And
links.
you have a new friend by the name of Linda.
Oh, yes, I forgot. Thank you. You are so sweet. So, Linda, yes, thank you. Oh, my God. I got to buy him a case of beer now. Canadian beer, of course. Not that American swill that you guys drink. Anyways. I just completed a course with lynda.com on Train to Trainer, and it went, apparently, according to them, not me, exceptionally well, and I'm really proud of it. So there's other courses coming with them as well. But as a Train to Trainer course, I posted a link, and I hope you guys can spread the word for me. I'm counting on my network and my friends and my colleagues, and I beg you to spread the word, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anthony.
No worries. And of course, you can always find me on the Twitters at AA_Altieri. I am at Connect Tech in Atlanta, along with our own Miss Katie Stroud, who I just found out about, is presenting at Connect Tech as well. And of course, I will also be at DevLearn talking about IoT, because if it's not XAPI, it's IoT that I talk about. So with that, folks, thank you so much for watching. I hope we were helpful today. Thanks
for having me, guys. Thank you, Anthony. You're a fantastic host. It doesn't matter what Luis says.
Normally we would do the little contribute thing, but I don't have it, so I can't. There it is, Luis, on the ball. Hey, guys, if you found this helpful, please feel free to throw a couple of shekels into the bucket. This is provided completely free. If you're not in a position. Sorry, my dog. If you're not in a position to share or whatever, that's fine. No pressure at all. But if you can, it definitely helps. It helps us bring in some guests, helps pay for the subscription and a bunch of other stuff. So we definitely appreciate it. And with that, folks, I will thank you so much. Luis, thank you for having us. Brent, thank you for having us.
Thank you, Brent and Luis.
And we will see.
Have us back soon, please.
Yeah. If you dare. Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.